3-6. From 8:15 that morning, the master began walking about on Meherabad Hill barefooted. All were surprised to see him doing so, and it seemed a signal that something unusual was about to occur. The meaning of Meher Baba's behavior became clear when suddenly at 11:30, Hazrat Babajan arrived by car in Meherabad. The car stopped in front of the girls' school bearing her name. Since moving to Pune many years before...
A girls' school? I didn't know there was
Yeah, there's a girls' school.
I thought it was... Wow, okay.
Well, since moving to Pune many years before, Babajan had never left the city for any reason. Therefore, everyone was truly astonished to see her at Meherabad. A week before, she had expressed her desire to leave Pune and go to my child's place. She was found to be constantly talking about Baba and remembering him very lovingly and wanting to visit Ahmednagar. After Rustam's departure to England, Padri was made the superintendent of Meherabad. In those days, the procedure before any visitor was allowed to meet Meher Baba was to inform him about the person's arrival through a secret slip of paper with his or her name and address written on it. When the note was read to Baba, he would respond whether or not he would meet the person. Following this procedure, Padre sent this very understated slip, dated April 1st, 1928. Name, Hazrat Babajan. Address, Hazrat Babajan.
Yeah.
Address, Pune. It's like Clinton coming to meet somebody. Still barefooted, Meher Baba immediately came walking down the hill, barefooted down the hill, not using the rickshaw as was his usual habit. He stopped at the railway tracks about 50 yards away from Babajan, who was standing on the opposite side. Can you picture that scene? We've been there. Mark and I have been crossing these tracks, and we could just imagine them looking at each other. Wow, I didn't know that sacred ground.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I didn't know that either. Hazrat Babajan.
Keeping one of the mandali near him, he motioned to the rest to take Babajan's darshan as he watched from a distance. As the mandali bowed at the ancient woman's feet, she was talking to herself, praising Meher Baba and addressing him as usual as my child. She spoke with authority and unusual sweetness, and also mysteriously referred to many spiritual secrets which the mandali could not follow. I wish I knew some of those. Well, Babajan was offered a little water to drink, and within a short time departed. The two masters had actually neither talked nor had any physical contact. There's a little prose about only their eyes had met, but who knows what message they conveyed. After her departure, Meher Baba explained at length about Babajan, concluding with an extraordinary remark. Today is the most eventful and significant day of my life. April 1st, 1928. He didn't say that, I just added that.
Right.
But that was the date when he said it. The next day, he went by car to Pune with the mandali to pay a return visit to
Hazrat.
I like that. Hazrat Babajan, who was seated with the crowd in Boon Gardens.
Wow.
He remained at a distance again, this time standing across the river on the opposite bank.
Wow.
After the mandali had gone back and forth over the bridge for her darshan, Baba returned to Meherabad. Again, there was a union of sight between the two masters. From April 15th, 2 weeks after his visit to Babajan, Meher Baba went on a strict fast, not even taking his usual 2 cups of coffee. He would not even drink water more than once every 24 hours. After a few days, he stated, "If a certain number of people are prepared to fast for a certain period, I will consider breaking my fast." K.J. Dastur asked him to clarify his conditions. Baba replied, If 200 persons fast for 24 hours, then I will take food. Accordingly, from the morning of April 24th, 200 persons at Meherabad fasted for 24 hours on water and milkless tea, taken only once. Baba also took a little milkless tea and broke his fast simultaneously with the rest on the following morning. Instead of being the first to eat, Baba stated that he preferred to serve all those who fasted with him first. After serving the food at about 9 o'clock, after a lapse of 5 months and 15 days, Baba ate a little curry and rice. Wow! 5 months, 15 days. And this is from Babaji. Although he is perfect, he has to do penance for the universe. He suffers for all beings, and thus worships the universe. How can anyone have an idea of his worship? His worship is performed from depths of unlimited suffering. Only the avatar can do such worship. Earlier in April, Baba had warned the boys that if they did not behave themselves, they would be transferred back to Mehera ashram, and the Prem ashram would be closed. On April 25th, he again warned them to improve their behavior. The boys began crying, and Baba forgave any unruly behavior, but he urged them not to continue in such a wild manner. Meanwhile, in England, Rustam tried his best to bring a few British boys to the Meher ashram, but failed. As he was preparing to sail to America, Baba cabled him on April 16th, "Don't worry, don't bring boys, return." No sooner had Rustam received this telegram than some of the British parents he had contacted agreed to send their sons with him back to India. But now, according to Baba's order, Rustam could not take them. He left his address with them, assuring them he would write soon. Before he left England, Rustam met a strange gentleman in London who said he was able to explain to him why he had been unsuccessful in his mission. The man told him, "Your master wishes to lay a spiritual cable between the East and the West. Up to now, the East is looked after by Eastern masters, and the West by Western masters." And there is a footnote to that end. There are no perfect masters, Sadguru or Ketubs in the West. Such realized masters are found only in the East. The reader should not think that when this mysterious gentleman was talking to Rustam, that he was referring to perfect masters when he said masters. He was referring to saints or advanced souls, members of the spiritual hierarchy who live in Europe and America. Your master wants to join both these, and that is the reason why he sent you here. You do not know it, but you are carrying with you a sort of wireless connection, and it affects all those whom you meet. One individual whom this wireless connection affected was Meherabad Star, who met Rustam in London. This contact was to prove useful and significant in Baba's future work. Unbeknown to Rustam, Baba sent him all the way to England solely to establish this link with the West. On his return to Meherabad at the end of April, Rustam received Baba's permission to send for the boys from England, and he made all the necessary arrangements for their voyage. However, the British government refused to allow the boys to emigrate, and the plan was dropped. Here's Baba dressed in Western garb. You can tell it's a photo studio, with pictures. Yeah. But he was dapper, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Let's start maybe one more page.
Sure.
They may as well stroke it up and get it finished.
Yeah.
In late April, Baba again entered a seclusion. He was in the underground crypt and gave orders that no one was to be sent up the hill. One day, 3 groups of visitors unexpectedly came to Meherabad for Baba's darshan. The first group was a large number of Parsis from Bombay, who had come to Ahmednagar for a few days. Since they were close to Meherabad and had heard of the Irani saint, as he was known, they decided to visit one morning and arrived at about 10 o'clock. Only a few of them sincerely wished to take Baba's darshan. The rest merely wanted to sightsee. Just before the group arrived, a Hindu couple also came to Meherabad with the intention of having Baba's darshan. The couple and the group of Parsis were told that Baba was in seclusion and was not seeing anyone or giving darshan. On hearing this, those who had come to sightsee merely laughed cynically and decided to go back. The sincere Parsis who had come for darshan were disappointed, but decided to stay, hoping Baba would come down the hill or call them up the hill. They sat with Chanji and inquired about the master, listening attentively to his stories. They left at about 4 o'clock after 6 hours of waiting. Also deciding to wait, the Hindu couple sat near Baba's seat by the duni and began meditating. They continued meditating, waiting patiently until 9 o'clock that night, in vain hopes of having Baba's darshan. Finally, believing it was God's will that they not see Baba, they left with heavy hearts. The same day, a mendicant, fakir, showed up at about 5 o'clock, expressing his desire to see Meher Baba. On being told the master's instructions, he spoke very forcefully, saying that he would have Baba's darshan or else he would not leave. He went to the well where he washed himself in preparation for meeting the Guru. Afterward he sat under the neem tree near the duni, silently repeating God's name. According to Baba's wish, travelers and mendicants who came from long distances were always given a meal, and so the mandali requested the fakir to join them for dinner. He answered, Without the Guru's darshan, I shall not touch food or water. The mandali tried to persuade him not to act so stubbornly and overrule the master's orders, but the fakir would not listen. That night, after hours of useless persuasion, he was invited to come and sleep inside with the men. But he even refused this and continued to sit by the main road. The next morning, the mandali found the fakir sleeping on the veranda and their quarters, and concluded that he must have given up his foolish behavior. But when the fakir awoke, his face was beaming, and he declared, The Guru heard my voice. My desire has been fulfilled. I had the Guru's darshan last night. Thinking he must have seen Baba in a dream, the mandali told him that Baba often appears to his followers in their dreams, and he was fortunate to have had such an experience. At this, the man jumped up, rebuking them. What are you talking about? This was not a dream. Meher Baba came to me in person and gave me his darshan and then returned up the hill. The mandali did not believe him, as Baba was in seclusion and never came down the hill once he retired for the night. But then one of the mandali who had been on night watch appeared at Lower Meherabad and related how, for some unexplained reason, Baba had walked down the hill during the night and then returned.
Unbelievable.
The fakir was given breakfast and left happily. Wow.
This is sort of amazing because of the three different groups. He was really one of the most obnoxious.
Exactly.
I mean, the tourists, so there's really four groups. The visitors.
The visitor sightseers.
Yeah, weren't interested.
Then the Parsis who came from Bombay, Hindu.
And this character, amazingly.
He repeated God's name, though, under the neem tree.
But I mean, he wouldn't eat, he wouldn't follow any of Baba's suggestions.
Here's Baba explaining now. This is a key point here. Listen to this. Baba later explained to the mandali the events of the previous day. The three groups that came yesterday reaped the benefits according to their capacities. Those who came to sightsee carried back, unbeknownst to them, the benefits of this sacred atmosphere. The Hindu couple who came with devotion and stayed to listen to stories about me gained more spiritual benefit. They reaped the fruit of their faith and devotion, though they are unaware of it. But the one who was the most fortunate was the fakir. Due to his firm determination and intense devotion, I had to disturb my seclusion and come down the hill. There has to be such true faith and longing to have the darshan of God, to move him and bring him down from the mountain.
Amazing.
On May 1st, Baba concluded a discourse with the boys by stating, Union with God is the ultimate state. In the end, the lover, beloved, and love all become one. He then quoted a Persian couplet. The inmost core of my heart is so filled with the thought of my beloved that my own name and existence are lost in thinking of him. We'll end on that. So let's page 10. Wasn't that beautiful?
I'm going to write something down.
Well, that's the end on page 1042. Jai Baba. Jai Baba. It's the Lord Meher night. It's Monday, February 16th, President's Day. We're sitting here in the Meherabad Center in Los Angeles, Mark Brutus and I, and a beautiful...
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. And there's a beautiful... You hear the sound on the roof?
Listen to the rhythm of the falling rain.
Yes, it's a torrential downpour. We've been going through the El Nino here in this 1998 early or late winter. We have a beautiful kerosene heater burning off to the side, and man, it feels nice and warm and cozy. So here we are for Lord Meher. It's the Avatar of the Age biography of Avatar Meherabad. We're in volume 3, dating 1925 to 1929. It's by Bal Kalchuri. We're on page 1040. Seclusion in the Crypt is dealing on this particular chapter. It's the year 1928. In late April, Baba again entered a seclusion. He was in the underground crypt and gave orders that no one was to be sent up the hill. One day, 3 groups of visitors unexpectedly came to Meherabad for Baba's darshan. The first group was a large number of Parsis from Bombay who had come to Ahmednagar for a few days. Since they were close to Meherabad and had heard of the Irani saint, they decided to visit one morning and arrived at about 10 o'clock. Only a few of them sincerely wished to take Baba's darshan. The rest merely wanted to sightsee.
Pretty. We did this last week. Do you want to do it again?
What?
We read this portion last week.
Did we?
Yes.
I thought it sounded familiar.
Yes.
Well, why don't we continue
I thought it was
on?
a new group.
Why don't we continue on? This will bring us up to date.
Sure.
Just before the group arrived, a Hindu couple also came to Meherabad with the intention of having Baba's darshan. The couple and the group of Parsis were told that Baba was in seclusion and was not seeing anyone or giving darshan. On hearing this, those who had come to sightsee merely laughed cynically and decided to go back. The sincere Parsis who had come for darshan were disappointed, but decided to stay, hoping Baba would come down the hill or call them up. They sat with Chanji and inquired about the master, listening attentively to his stories. They left at about 4 o'clock after 6 hours of waiting. Also deciding to wait, the Hindu couple sat near Baba's seat by the Duni and began meditating. They continued meditating, waiting patiently until 9 o'clock that night in vain hopes of having Baba's darshan. Finally, believing it was God's will that they not see Baba, they left with heavy hearts. The same day, a mendicant fakir showed up at about 5 o'clock, expressing his desire to see Meherabad. On being told the master's instructions, he spoke very forcefully, saying that he would have Baba's darshan or else he would not leave. He went to the well where he washed himself in preparation for meeting the Guru. You ever notice that in India, how before people go to early morning darshan or arti, they bathe and they're spitting and coughing, shaving. No, really. Yeah, these
Cold water, too.
Yeah, cold water. But these Indian people, they must get a lot of stuff in their mouth from their food or something. They go.
It's part of their thing,
You hear that throughout the morning's hours, but they're all bathing and they wear these nice clean cottons before they go to Baba Samadhi. They're always clean. They scrub themselves. Afterward, this guru sat under the neem tree near the Duni, silently repeating God's name. According to Baba's wish, travelers and mendicants who came from long distances were always given a meal, and so the mandali requested the fakir to join them for dinner. He answered, Without the Guru's darshan, I shall not touch food or water. The mandali tried to persuade him not to act so stubbornly and overrule the master's orders. But the fakir would not listen. That night, after hours of useless persuasion, he was invited to come and sleep inside with the men. But he even refused this and continued to sit by the main road. The next morning, the mandali found the fakir sleeping on the veranda of their quarters and concluded that he must have given up his foolish behavior. But when the fakir awoke, his face was beaming, and he declared, "The Guru heard my voice. My desire has been fulfilled. I had the Guru's darshan last night." Thinking he must have seen Baba in a dream, the mandali told him that Baba often appears to his followers in their dreams, and he was very fortunate to have had such an experience. At this, the man jumped up, rebuking them. "What are you talking about? This was not a dream. Meher Baba came to me in person and gave me his darshan and then returned up the hill." The mandali did not believe him, as Baba was in seclusion and never came down the hill once he retired for the night. But then one of the mandali who had been on night watch appeared at Lower Meherabad and related how, for some unexplained reasons, Baba had walked down the hill during the night and then returned.
Amazing.
The fakir was given breakfast and left happily. Baba later explained to the mandali the events of the previous day. The three groups that came yesterday reaped the benefits according to their capacities. Those who came to sightsee carried back, unbeknownst to them, the benefits of this sacred atmosphere. The Hindu couple who came with devotion and stayed to listen to stories about me gained more spiritual benefit. They reaped the fruit of their faith and devotion, though they were unaware of it. But the one who was the most fortunate was the fakir. Due to his firm determination and intense devotion, I had to disturb my seclusion and come down the hill. There has to be such true faith and longing to have the darshan of God, to move him and bring him down from the mountain. On May 1st, Baba concluded a discourse with the boys by stating, "Union with God is the ultimate state. In the end, the lover, beloved and love, all become one." He then quoted a Persian couplet, "The innermost core of my heart is so filled with the thought of my beloved that my own name and existence are lost in thinking of him." Baba urged the boys, "So create love and you will see your master. The beloved can be loved even from a distance. There is no question of distance or nearness. Love is required, and love can be awakened by constantly thinking of the master." Abdullah Parakwan had experienced Meher Baba's love. Abdullah's inner experience was unique among the Prem Ashram boys. The following is his account of what happened to him when the master lifted him to the sixth plane of consciousness. And there's a footnote to this effect about, I think, the sixth plane. There's no listing. Funny. Anyway. One day, at the end of a discourse, Baba looked deeply into the faces of each child, one by one, and remarked, "Those whom I find worthy I shall attract to the mistress of love, and I shall offer them the elixir of life."
Excuse me, is that mistress or mysteries?
Mistress.
Mistress of love.
Children, only truth is real. All else is worthless. Although I did not have the strength to look into Baba's radiant countenance and lowered my eyes, he glanced at me, addressing me thus, "Try and be diligent. I shall make pure gold from your mixed alloy." The profound effect that his remark had upon me put me in the most bewildered state during that night and the next day. While playing field hockey, my schoolmates were puzzled as they noticed my manner of standing, running, and also the color of my face change. At lunch, after taking a few morsels, I suddenly felt a change overtaking me. I began to feel extraordinary heat, and everything began to get dark around me. Things actually began to vanish. Suddenly, beyond my own volition, a weeping welled up from the depth of my being, and I began to wail. Within moments, I lost all consciousness of the people surrounding me and became insensible. After a short while, I found myself conscious again, repeating, I am far, I am far. Where is he? And where am I? Bu Sahib tried to comfort me by reminding me what Baba had promised to do for me. But the spontaneous weeping became louder and louder as my muscles were shivering, making my breath deep and fast. I would quiet down for a while, only to start crying again. After about an hour, I began to calm down. I felt I was in a state of limbo between sleep and wakefulness. A feeling of bliss overtook me. I raised my head and found my beloved Baba sitting in front of me. His presence and the sight of his pure face once again moved me to tears, and unthinkingly I fell at his holy feet. He was concerned as he gazed at me. I was dazed, lost in a sea of oblivion. After a few minutes I regained consciousness and sat in front of Baba, motionless as a statue, gazing with bewilderment at his unrivaled beauty. My eyes were wet with tears and my heart was burning in flames. In my heart I was singing these lines about true love for God. O beloved, I have lost myself, yet I desire to lose myself even more. I speak to your eyes, telling them, I want to be as drunk as you are. I don't want a crown, I don't seek a throne, I only want to be thrown as dust in your service. Who has ever had such a lovely idol as I have? Who has ever had a moon sweet as honey? The sight of your countenance makes the earth shake, as it will at a day of judgment. Yet in the paradise of your beauty, who would ever fear the fire of hell? My heart then pleaded to Baba as God, O life of my soul, without you, neither does joy make me happy, nor does rapture intoxicate me. You are my life. Without you, I know not how to live. You are my eyes. Without you, I have no sight. As time passed and weeks ended, the love of my beloved, my exalted master, became more apparent, and the fire became hotter and more burning. It finally reached such an extent that even while doing normal things such as eating and bathing, I would be drowned in thoughts of Baba, and there was not a moment that I could forget him. Weeks passed while I was being consumed in the intoxication of his love. Then by December 1927, desire for food eventually left me, and I had abandoned the care of my body and clothes, having become totally oblivious of my surroundings. I was lost in meditation and in the longing to behold the beauty of my Baba. His name was my meditation, and the thought of him my remembrance of God. You want to pick it up? I'm going to pick it up here. This is still the same account from Abdullah.
Okay. One night?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. He's telling
It's really beautiful.
Telling his whole story.
Yes. One night, as was usual, the children and mandali had gathered around Baba, listening to him dictate a discourse. I found myself changed and began to see all around a radiant glow, which betrayed the effulgence of the sun. Quivering and flowing, I called out the beloved's name and instantly lost consciousness. I was unconscious for 5 hours. And when I regained consciousness, I was taken to Baba, who consoled me and asked me to sleep. After that experience, whenever I was in Baba's presence, I would first kiss his feet. But no matter how much I would kiss and press my head on his feet, it would not soothe my burning heart. Neither would it help the turmoil which had overtaken my heart. I was immersed in one thought, the thought of the beloved. Without meditating or contemplating, my soul was enjoying peace and bliss, and my eyes were fixed on his pure and noble face. Baba is so beautiful, and he's really captured it in this.
It's so beautiful that somebody's speaking about it, that it is recorded.
Yes.
This is one of the best accounts
Yes.
ever of somebody's inner
Yes, I want to copy this poem here because it's so beautiful. And he says, my eyes were fixed on his pure and noble face. A short while following this experience, the focus of my concentration was fully established, and I was in constant remembrance. I was so immersed in this natural meditation that during this period, I did not care about food and did not care whether I sat in the sun or rain. Many of my days were spent constantly weeping. It was in January 1928 when my inner state changed drastically. Sitting close to my beloved master, watching the sunset, I suddenly began to wail and scream and cry. My external eyes closed and my inner eye opened. I saw that my heart, my chest, all my limbs, veins, skin, and bones were overwhelmed and ruled by a being with such effulgence and glittering radiance that it heightened the most hidden corners of my heart. Awestruck by the sight of that radiant being, I forgot the world and all that was in it. Completely unaware of the apparent world and the people around me, I spent 5 days intoxicated in bliss and unconscious. During this time, the continuity of this vision remained unbroken, and I saw nothing but the glorious sight of his radiant and blessed being. I was in the height of bliss and joy because of sight of him. I enjoyed this unique vision of my beloved and exalted Master Meherabad within my heart and soul throughout these 5 days. The visions of his glorious face made me hear a voice within me declaring, "Remove your shoes, you are on holy ground." Because of this blissful vision of reality, I understood that the world with all its belongings and luxuries is really like a dream, an illusion, and that it is truly a binding. I realized that getting hold of a true and perfect master is the cause of eternal freedom and satisfaction. At that time, I was told that Meherabad mentioned to the mandali that I had progressed to the 6th plane, and it was then that I was called Chotta Baba. Many years passed before Abdullah concluded what Meherabad had done for him. This is Abdullah again. Although people constantly try to collect worldly belongings with the only purpose of having all the things that the world can offer, considering them the cause of happiness, I understood that in truth, collecting them, beholding them, and keeping them is the cause of misery and depression, and that beholding the countenance of the beloved with the inner eye, no, even with the external eyes, creates an immense joy and increases happiness. At that time I saw that blessed being in myself, in others, and all around, continuously and without a break. It is very rare that, due to a great fortune, a perfect master with his infinite grace, mercy, and power raises one to such heights. In conclusion, I can say that I got a precious result from my life with Baba during those years in the ashram. So this is all recorded later. No, it doesn't say how much later. During those years in the ashram, even though I departed from him and lost the inner consciousness of what I was allowed to experience by Baba, what I attained in the path, I was graced with the character for life in the world. The worldly life in trade, in business, in community, with my neighbors, friends, dealings. In all that, I have chosen the path of righteousness, truthfulness, sincerity, and have not even a liking for material and worldly things as others do. And I will say that although I could be wealthy and have land and houses in Persia, today I am living in a simple style, rent a house and have not an inch of land or any property in Persia. The result of my work is whatever money I have is spent on the education of my children and in other ways for the care of others that do not need description. I worked free for the Iranian Red Cross for nearly 27 years without taking a penny in salary. The Red Cross is in the service of humanity and offers the best aid that can be given to the needy at the time of disaster. I am happy that this result that I have is due to the life and due to the love that Meher Baba gave. Let's see here. Oh, new chapter, Meher Tokka Ashram. So there's a picture of Baba in Tokka. You want to take over or shall I? Okay. Some months before, Meher Baba had remarked that a great march would take place. But at that time, no one understood what he meant. When Aga Ali was taken away by his father, Baba had commented in reference to the ashram, "This will have to be done all over again." Because of these hints, the mandali came to believe that a great change was about to occur, but no one could foresee that the entire Meherabad community would be shifted to a completely different location. On May 7th, several people came to see Baba, and among them was Ramju's brother-in-law, Abdullah Rahun Jaffer. During his conversation with Baba, Jaffer mentioned that there was a very good place in Pune, which would be quite suitable and comfortable for Meher Ashram. It was summer and extremely hot in Meherabad. The desert-like climate was a source of constant discomfort. Baba replied, "Yes, I too am thinking of changing the site of the ashram." This brief remark, stated so seriously, astounded the mandali, because to move an institution of 400 people from one place to another was not an easy task. Is Baji's sort of poem. But in the play of wine, outward considerations have no importance, and the saki can shift his tavern wherever and whenever he must. Early the next morning, Baba left Meherabad for Pune at 4:30, taking Abdullah Chota Baba, and a few of the mandali with him. Abdullah was kept quite aloof from the rest of the boys during this period, staying night and day in Baba's crypt, and he had not stepped out of Meherabad for months. The mandali, remaining behind, again witnessed a rare and remarkable event when Hazrat Babajan unexpectedly arrived for the second time at Meherabad on the very day that Meher Baba went to Pune. The ancient woman met the mandali and boys, kissing each boy and embracing their residents. After a brief visit, she left. On the way to Pune, Meher Baba's car had actually passed Babajan's, and it passed her again on the return to Meherabad. Twice, both cars, carrying the masters, passed each other in opposite directions on the road, but neither stopped. While in Pune, Baba saw but did not approve of Jaffer's recommended location. After returning to Meherabad, he revealed that shifting Meher Ashram was unavoidable. Then, in reference to Babajan, he remarked, "It has now become imperative after the old man's second visit here." A little remark here, 1048. The old man, Baba calls Babajan 1048. Hazrat Babajan used to refer to herself as a man instead of a woman. And to please her, Meher Baba used either to call her the old man or emperor. Wow.
That'd be a good trivial pursuit.
Yes.
Trivial pursuit.
Yes.
Who was the old man or the emperor?
Yes.
Everyone's going to say a man's name.
Yes. Concluding the discussion, Baba asked the mandali again to decide whether or not they wished to stay with him. On May 9th, he had the following notice posted. As it is intended for certain reasons to remove the entire establishment from Meherabad to a new place to be fixed hereafter, the whole of the mandali is hereby ordered to read and think over the following and inform Baba of their decision, one way or the other, as soon as possible. For those who wish to stay, their stay should be unconditional, absolutely without any condition or promise as to time, place or result. No question at all as to be raised regarding these points. Baba may go anywhere, may stay any length of time there, or he may remove or go elsewhere as it pleases him, with no promise of any result, either spiritual or material. In addition, those who wish to stay will be required strictly to try to obey and observe all Baba's orders without any question as to reason, argument, or discussion. For those who wish to leave, those who cannot manage to observe or accept these conditions or desire to leave for any other reason are hereby given complete freedom to do so, and are allowed to go anywhere and to do anything they like after informing Baba about it. I just want to say here, I don't know of a single Indian follower of Baba that ever left him. Do you know of any Indian?
You know, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, they went through a tougher time with Baba, but they never left. I mean, all those early mandali, I mean, they would, Baba would say, get out of my sight. I mean, Baba treated them, I think, more harshly than the Westerners. But so many Westerners left him. Meredith Starr, Jean Adriel. Did Herbert Davy leave Baba? Yeah. But it seemed like the Westerners didn't stay in a way,
Yeah,
you know.
it's true. It's a good point.
Yeah.
I never thought about it, but it's right. The Easterners seem to have stuck to it.
And they sort of, I mean, Baba treats them more harshly even. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like they go through more
I think
stuff.
there are some, but Baoji could clue you in if you asked Bao.
Yeah, that would be
Are there
interesting.
any ones that were either close to the Mandalay or Baba,
Yeah.
or on the outside circle, pretty close to it, that left? I think there is a few.
I can't think of any, you know.
I know that some people who came to visit him, who weren't Mandalay members, but visiting, one guy started to print articles about him, remember?
Yeah, well, I know Mehera's uncle was one of the biggest opponents of Baba, you know. Anyway, but I just, you know, he's giving them that choice, yeah. A discussion then ensued about a suitable place for the ashram. Navsari and Daman in Gujarat and Sinhagar near Pune were mentioned as possibilities. On the afternoon of May 15th at 4:30, Baba left in Rustam's car to visit these places. Baba was driven straight to Sinhagar, where B.D. Pudumji had offered his bungalow for Baba's youth. But because of the altitude and heavy rainfall there during the monsoon season, Baba did not like the sight and decided to leave for Bombay. Baba and the Mandali had intended to catch the Gujarat mail for Navsari, but they arrived in Bombay 3 hours late and missed the train. Typical of India. Baba instructed Chanji to proceed to Navsari alone and search for a suitable spot while he and the rest of the Mandali returned to Meherabad the following day. Here is his whole now unsettled phase, you know. Rustam's car with Baba and the Mandali was overloaded, carrying 10 persons and a heavy amount of luggage piled on top. On the way back, the car abruptly stopped while ascending the mountain pass near Kandala and began rolling backward down the steep hill. The Mandali became frightened, fearing the car was out of control. Rustam applied the brake, but they failed. The car was rapidly rolling back and at any moment might plunge into the valley below. Brother Jal and another man jumped out and began shouting, warning about the nearby cliff. Rustam loudly called out Baba's name. Baba, who was in the front seat, then leaned heavily to one side and pressed his hand on the steering wheel, and the car came to a sudden halt.
My God.
As I should say, Rustam loudly called out Baba's name. Baba, who was in the front seat, then leaned heavily to one side and firmly pressed his hand on the steering wheel, and the car came to a sudden halt.
Power.
Rustam had been crying out of fear, and with tears he embraced Baba, and everyone thanked Baba for saving them from certain death. The rest of the Mandali got out of the car, and they managed to traverse the ghat by pushing the car up the hill. After the ghat was crossed, the car started up again, and they continued on. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? Yeah. The Baba didn't say anything about it. You know what I mean?
But to him, it was child's play on stopping
the
Yeah, but he
car.
didn't respond
He
until
didn't respond until
Rustam called his name.
He changed his head.
Facing death, and then the moment they call him, then.
But it stopped instantly, like.
But he didn't seem concerned at all. I mean, Bob didn't seem concerned at all.
So it was a pretty good guy to travel with. I think you'd feel pretty safe about it.
10 people in that car.
Wow.
10
A
people.
little overcrowded.
Oh, and luggage on the top. I mean, I think the thing just couldn't hold on anymore. I mean, I'm sure the car
Couldn't make it up.
couldn't go
So
up.
that
They
all
had to push it. They had to
But there was
push it.
enough of them to push it.
10 of them,
They
yeah.
could
That's
push
the
it.
only way to go.
But once they got coasting, it started.
Once they get there, yeah. But it probably was that load. I mean, 10
Oh, yeah.
people. Wow, that's a lot of people and luggage. You want to take over for a little bit? Because I can keep going. So in the evening, after they had traveled some time, oh, none of this happened to her.
It's on page 1049. In the evening, after they had traveled some distance, another mishap occurred between Telegon and Sherwawadi. A tree had fallen across the road, but due to the car's dim headlights, Rustam did not see it, and the car struck the tree at full speed.
Oh, man.
Except for a cracked windshield, no other damage to the car was noticed in the darkness. None of the mandali were seriously injured, though some incurred minor bruises. The engine was still running, and they proceeded on the Pune 20 miles away. Near Pune, they examined the car and found that the hood and the bumper was twisted and bent, and water was leaking from the radiator. After they took a break for tea, Baba indicated that he wanted to be back in Meherabad as soon as possible. So they left immediately, arriving there in the early hours of the morning on May 17th. Soon afterward, Rustam was sent to Ahmednagar to have the car repaired. But it continued on even though the water was leaking. Amazing. Within a short time, after returning to Meherabad, Baba again brought up the problem where to find a suitable area to shift the ashram. During this discussion, someone suggested Toka. Interested, Baba wished to see the place immediately and went there the same evening, returning later that night. The master liked Toka so much that the following day, May 18th, he had a plot of land purchased there and gave orders for temporary structures to be erected on it.
Have you been there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We stopped by that river.
Yes, yes.
The improvised buildings at Meherabad were pulled down and the materials were taken to Toka. While in Meherabad, because the residence was demolished, the men mandali had to sleep out in the open for some days. Later in Toka, work went on day and night, and in 2 weeks, temporary buildings were erected. The table cabin by the Duni was transferred to Toka for Baba's stay on May 30th, and everything else was ready for establishing their residency there. Toka is located between Ahmednagar and Aurangabad, 45 miles from Ahmednagar. It is situated at the confluence of the Godavari and Pravara rivers, and it is said that the masters Swami Ramdas and Sai Baba both spend time in the vicinity. Although Toka appeared to be deserted, the pleasant scenery of hills, trees, and the river surrounding it appealed to Baba, and an atmosphere of peace pervaded the area. In Meherabad, while all the activity of moving the ashram to Toka was going on, many people from nearby villages and towns came and demanded Meher Baba's darshan. In fact, the numbers dramatically increased for darshan because many had heard that the master was leaving the area. Ooh, panic. Earlier on May 27th, in the midst of packing and last instructions, Kakarushu Pleader and Savak Dinshaw Katwal, both desiring to join the ashram, arrived with Minu and Pohowala. Baba permitted him to stay in Meherabad for a few days so they could acquaint themselves with the mandali and become familiar with the various work. The next day, Baba called Pleader to him on Meherabad Hill and asked him what he wished to attain. Pleader replied, "I want to see God." Baba warned him, "It is the most difficult thing in the world. For that, one has to possess unimaginable the third paragraph from the bottom, side B, Lord Mehera. The next day, Baba called Pleader to the Meherabad hill and asked him what he wished to attain. Pleader replied, I want to see God. Baba warned him, it is the most difficult thing in the world. For that, one has to possess unimaginable courage and undergo untold hardships. Nevertheless, Pleader showed his readiness to endure all deprivations and discomforts, saying that he had no family responsibilities and was completely free from the world. Baba instructed him, go back to your home and arrange everything satisfactorily. When you are totally free of all your responsibilities, come back. Pleader accepted this and returned to Bombay. He informed his relatives of his decision, attended to few details, and was back in Meherabad within the week to join Baba permanently just before the move to Toka. On May 31st, Baba visited Toka again to assure himself that all arrangements for the new ashram had been made by the mandali to his satisfaction. On June 2nd, the day before leaving Meherabad, Baba met privately with Meenu Pohuwala. As Meenu was in the habit of going to one saint after another, Baba pointedly explained to him, when you sink a well, you first select a spot before beginning the drilling. But if you stop drilling halfway and start anew at a different spot, you will never find water and all your labors will be wasted. But if you keep drilling at one spot, you will surely find water one day. A spirit of fortitude is required. If you are easily disappointed and keep trying at different places, you will never succeed. Similarly, if you continue running from one saint or Sadguru to another, you will never gain anything. Stick firmly to only one master and carry out his wishes. Dig, dig, and keep on digging, and one day you will get the water of realization. That day, Baba also had a private meeting with Satvat Kotwal. Although just 25 years old, Kotwal was a genuine seeker and had previously contacted Upasni Maharaj, Narayan Maharaja, and Hazrat Babajan. He came to see Meher Baba because someone in Pune had told him that the Irani Guru at Arangan was the chief disciple of Babajan. Kotwal opened his heart to Baba and revealed, I desire God realization in this birth. Baba replied, either long for God or for the world. You cannot have both. It has never happened before and it will never happen in the future. Kotwal wanted God, but at the same time he was married and wished to stay with his family. Baba encouraged him, I know how much you want to tread the spiritual path, and I will see that you enter it. You will make rapid progress toward that goal, and you will eventually be completely swayed toward it. Baba instructed Kotwal to visit him every weekend. This satisfied Kotwal, and from that time on, the longing to be one of Baba's resident mandali was aroused in him. Sava Kotwal had the darshan of Upasni Maharaj on many occasions. Once in Bombay, when Kotwal's turn came to bow down, Maharaja gave him a hard slap and scolded him, You are ruining my whole work and your own as well. Deeply distressed, Kotwal resolved never to go back to him. When he was departing, however, one of Maharaja's disciples came running with this message from him. Don't worry, I only slapped you because I have work of a special character to fulfill. Even after meeting Meher Baba, Kotwal continued to visit gurus, sadhus, and other holy men. One in particular was named Jiyagi Baba. When Kotwal next visited, Meher Baba informed him, Jiyagi Baba has not even reached the atmosphere of the spiritual world. Leave him alone. Those who know the emperor have no need to bow before the palace guards in order to gain entrance. Baba did, however, instruct Kotwal to contact the great Saint Tipu Baba in Bombay.
And Linda, one of the keys does not work. One of the keys you gave me.
Which one?
The one to the padlock. So I took it.
Those who know the emperor have no need to bow before the palace guards in order to gain entrance. Baba did, however, instruct Kotwal to contact the great Saint Tipu Baba, Tipu, in Bombay, and convey to him this seemingly simple message: the Emperor has sent me.
Wow.
When Kotwal did so, Tipu Baba, who seldom spoke to anyone, immediately replied, "Say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. God is great. No one is great but God. I give these blessings. Go now. The task is successfully completed." Later, Baba told Kotwal to visit Tipu Baba often, but he was not to meet any other holy men. On one such visit, Kotwal brought a framed photograph of Meher Baba and asked permission to hang it in Tipu Baba's room, and the saint agreed. When Kotwal had hung the photograph, Tipu Baba exclaimed, "The whole world exists on Meher Baba's name."
Isn't it amazing? And Kotwal doesn't really appreciate Baba.
Yeah,
You know?
I know. These saints are trying to tell him,
Yeah.
this is not Tipu Baba. This is Mamu Baba, who was the chargeman of Bombay, inheriting it from Tipu Baba.
Wow.
So he inherited Mamu. Heavy-looking guy. You know,
He looks a bit like Sai Baba.
Yeah, but he looks so. Their face is so beautiful.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
one of these people would walk into one of these Madison Avenue or Wall Street stockbrokers' houses, and people would, I don't know, they wouldn't know how to respond.
Well, they probably would be. I mean, he'd probably higher than Mother Teresa, you know?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, they would sense something.
They'd say, "Wow, who's this?"
As if they live in such poverty.
I know. It's simple. Look at the
Yeah.
cafe. Preparations were made to take the mandali and boys to Toka in the early hours of the morning on Sunday, June 3rd. At 3 o'clock, Baba came down from Meherabad Hill and arranged for the children of the ashram and the women mandali to be taken first. They were accompanied in 4 trolleys, with Baba accompanying them. After seeing them safely to Toka, Baba returned to Meherabad by noon and again started for Toka with the teachers, the men mandali, and the family groups, Kaka Shahane, Kisan, Ramju, and Chugan, and Rustams. In Toka, the women mandali, the children, teachers, and families, consisting of nearly 500 people, settled in their new quarters. It reminds you of the pilgrims crossing the west. All of a sudden, this huge contingent of people.
I mean, with Baba, it was like a village.
A village just sprung up. Although the men mandali had to spend the night in the open air as their temporary quarters were still being constructed, Rustam, Padri, Pendu, and Pisu, with a few of the children, stayed back in Meherabad to see the transport of the remaining trunks and baggage. At the Lord's departure, our aides saw Meherabad weeping. A feeling of depression descended like a fog on its deserted fields and hill. You could feel
They
that
took
feeling.
everything away. They
Yeah.
took
I
everything
mean, I could feel that loneliness.
Yeah.
Wow. A feeling of depression descended like a fog on its deserted fields and hill. The Dooni's ash lamented the separation. The Jopti's walls ached with the suffering of his silence. Flowers stopped smiling. The birds ceased flying. And the breeze lost all interest in blowing. Wow. Everything of nature and man, every wine-soaked particle of Meherabad, longed to know why he had moved his headquarters, pleading to their Creator, "Where has our Lord gone? Without him, all is dry and without interest. Were you displeased with us, Lord of creation, to abandon us, leaving us weeping in sorrow?" Excuse me, can you do that later?
Yeah.
Can you tell them we'll take care of everything?
Say, Linda.
But the beloved Lord had not forgotten Meherabad. He had taken its spirit along with him. For as soon as he arrived in Toka, the Lord named the new ashram Meherabad. He named it Meherabad in Toka. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
The tears of Meherabad seemed to reach Baba at Toka, for on the first night of their stay, rain began falling. The mandali went without sleep, as they were occupied the whole night with moving the grain, corn, and other provisions out of the rain. Baba, with his usual lightning speed, also helped in the labors, assisting the women mandali and supervising the men. After a sleepless night, the men were so tired they thought, is this really happening or are we dreaming? Like you can imagine, you were just in Meherabad and now you're in this strange place and it's almost like your logical mind is probably saying, why? Baba's movements were so rapid that the men had to run to keep pace with him. The first night was quite horrendous, for the men mandali, who were already exhausted from the arduous 2-week period in making all the necessary arrangements for the several hundred people leaving Meherabad, under Baba's direction, they had to provide accommodation for everyone, make provision for food, see to the studies of the boys, and attend to many other details of the evacuation and relocation. Also during the first night in Toka, in the midst of all the commotion, Ramju's wife, Khatija, suddenly became seriously ill. Her pulse was feeble and her body cold. Baba was called, and on his touching her, she instantly felt better. From the next day, the women mandali, consisting of Mehera, Naja, Khorshed, Soona, Daulat, Gulmai, Dolly, Valu, and Pilamai, were given the duty of preparing 1,000 chapatis a day for all the ashram residents.
Of that era, the only one of the mandali that's alive is Khorshed.
That's right.
The only one from that era.
That is right.
The only one alive.
Wow. That's right. 1,000 chapatis a day.
Wow.
Waman Subnis, who was very strong and muscular, would knead the dough and also milk the cows. On June 5th, Baba spent the whole day with the mandali selecting the locations for putting up the various other buildings, such as the storeroom, dispensary, hospital, and a private room for KJ Dastur. That night, Baba went for a walk in the moonlight with Chanji, Rasahib, and Brother Jal after the others had gone to bed. Boy, can you imagine walking with Baba in the moonlight? 2 days later, Bailey arrived in Toka at noon with Baba's father and sister. After staying only 2 hours and discussing matters with Baba, Sheriar left with Mani, who cried when leaving, disappointed in such a short visit. Rustum, Padre, Pendu, and Pesu arrived the same day with the remaining luggage, so no one was left living in Meherabad. Pesu was assigned the duty of going to Ahmednagar for marketing once a week. They still marketed in Ahmednagar, 45 miles away. Baba warned him to be careful when he crossed the Pavara River, for at times it was flooded, which made crossing it treacherous. On June 8th, Rustum went for a swim across the Pavara River, but in midstream he became exhausted and began choking. Within moments, Baba, followed by some of the mandali, came running from the ashram to the river. Baba urgently pointed to Rustum, who was about to go under the water. Without hesitating, Sorab Hansosha jumped into the river and brought him to safety on the bank. This was another occasion when Baba saved Rustum, for if Baba had not suddenly appeared, he would have certainly drowned. That's the second time. The car going down.
I wonder, he probably called Baba's name,
The following day, June 9th, the men mandali began leveling a meadow with a roller for the students' playground. They were given tea 4 times a day to sustain them in this strenuous work, caffeine. The school had already started from the very first day in Toka, June 4th, and Baba scolded Dahaki and Manikar for arriving 5 days late. Rustum's wife and children arrived the following day, brought by Adi, and began staying in the new ashram. On June 11th, Baba ordered Karaishu Masa to dig a hole in the ground for a duni near the table house. Soon after, a heavy rain started and poured down throughout the rest of the day. Toka had a beautiful forest, but at night there were hordes of pestering insects. Snakes and scorpions were also found in abundance. Chuggan was an expert at killing snakes, and every night he would be required to demonstrate his skill. The duni was lighted on June 12th at 7:30 in the evening, and Baba's arti was sung. That day a telegram was received from Meredith Starr, the man Rustum had contacted in England, stating that he had taken a boat for India along with his fiancée and her sister, but without any boys. Baba was very annoyed at the news, for he wanted some boys from England in the school ashram. The next day, the weather was cloudy and full of gloom, reflecting Baba's mood. He complained, "I am fed up with everything and everybody. and the climate here is terrible.
Wow.
What earthly good is my coming to Toka if the purpose for which I have come is not served?
So they're not going to stay.
Baba added, I will stop eating and remain only on milkless tea, wearing only a loincloth. He took off his sadra and remained in his baggy shorts, called chadis. Soon afterward, Baba became quite restless and began walking about from one place to another. As soon as he would sit down, he would stand up and move on again. No one could guess the reason or alleviate his apparent distress. The mystery was solved the following day when Aga Ali's father arrived in Toka, demanding his son's return. Haji had heard a vicious rumor and was upset. However, due to Ru Sahab's convincing assurances that his son was quite well, he calmed down and left. Only then did the mandali understand the reason for Baba's restlessness the previous day. On June 14th, Baba prepared a timetable for the school and laid down the usual rules for the mandali concerning every facet of their life. Bu Sahib was appointed manager of the ashram. Referring to him, Baba remarked, though Bu Sahib is responsible, the tone and the way he talks with people is not befitting. For instance, instead of saying my mother, he says my father's wife. He serves me faithfully and with all his heart, but he puts people off by his manner of speaking. So, you want to take?
Sure.
At the top of the page.
Is this when Baba gave up wearing clothing?
Yeah.
Very nice. Adi K. Irani arrived in Toka and spent the night, returning to Ahmednagar the next day. During this period, Rustam, Dolly, and Gulmai were staying with Baba, while Adi was living in Kushru quarters with his father, Khan Sahib. Adi would take care of Baba's correspondence and oversee the properties. Excuse me? I just really love this photo of Baba. I just really like this photo.
Yeah, that's when he took off his.
Yeah.
This wore the daddies. Daddies.
Yeah. On June 15th, a new wall structure was made for Baba between the hut he would rest in at night and the table cabin, so he could walk between the two structures without being noticed. Zarathustra's birthday was observed, and Baba made a special visit to the women mandali's quarters to allow them to perform his arti. He would go see them every day, making certain that they were living strictly according to his orders. During 1928, Meher Baba's name and message began to spread in certain circles in Europe. On June 16th, a discussion arose about a group of enthusiasts in Warsaw, Poland, who had written that they were forming an association to promote the cause of spirituality as outlined in a booklet entitled Shri Meher Baba and Meher Ashram. Baba remarked that it was a good sign. A local village madcap came to see Baba in the afternoon when Baba was deeply absorbed in his daily routine of activities. He asked Baba's permission to perform on his shahanai, musical instrument, and to please him, Baba permitted it. Let's see, there's a note here. 1056. Shahanai is a musical instrument resembling a clarinet. Oh, that's what that was about. At the same time, he conveyed to the mandali by gestures, what is wrong if one more headache is added to my 1,700 worries? He is in trouble and so am I. Wow. So what the Baba was saying is like the mandali was surprised that Baba would allow this, a madcap to interrupt his routine and perform. And Baba was saying, what is this one more on top of all of the others?
Yes.
Yeah. What is it? What is wrong if one more headache is added to my 1,700 worries?
Wow.
Yeah. He is in trouble and so am I. Wow. So Baba put himself on the same level as this guy. The madcap, not knowing what Baba was saying, went on playing the shahanai loudly. Baba pretended to enjoy the music. The man concluded his performance, exclaiming, "Baba, only you appreciate my art. I'll come often to make you happy." Smiling, Baba agreed, and the mad musician left. Wow. So this guy was probably making a bunch of noise, and Baba was so appreciative of him. This is so amazing. Baba then remarked, "See how I always keep others pleased, despite my being upset and preoccupied." Wow. That night, Nusarwan Sata came from Ahmednagar to see Baba after a month's absence. He spent the night and left the following morning. Since Baba had stopped wearing his sadra for the previous 4 days, he moved about dressed only in baggy shorts. But on June 17th, the women dressed him in a beautiful grey kafni. Even though Baba admired it, after a short time he took it off and presented it to Abdullah, Chota Baba. And once again he donned his usual white sadra. So he did change after the women. Probably the women were concerned.
Yeah, no, he just sort of like, appeased them.
Yeah.
Wow.
It looks awesome back then. Each of the women staying with Baba wanted to comb his beautiful long hair. To resolve the problem of who would be given this privilege, Baba proposed to hold a lottery every day. This lottery continued for some days, but Baba eventually gave the special duty to his dearest Mehera.
Can I see that picture before you turn?
Yeah, I love this picture.
Oh yeah, wow.
It's just fun looking at it, you know.
It's pretty good shape actually right there.
It's skinny.
Not too many, pretty flat stomach.
Yeah.
Hard body. Hard body, but...
His pecs are good, you see.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he could probably do his pecs just through thinking, man. He didn't need to do,
But it just, I wonder what the women must have thought, because, you know what I mean? I never see a man like that.
I know.
And Baba was so beautiful. He probably looked really great when he wasn't sitting.
The thing is that he was so strong, though. Remember they said...
But slender.
Well, remember that one incident early in the Manzali meme where he just yanked this guy by the collar and almost literally picked him up.
Yes, and threw him. Yeah.
There was a bigger man, like weighing 200 pounds.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Baba was very, very strong. He was very, very strong. But he didn't look it,
Oh no,
very slender.
5'7", wasn't he?
5'6", yeah.
5'6"?
Yeah.
What did he weigh? Did anybody ever? Well, his weight varied later on. But
yeah, I'm sure in those days it couldn't have been
probably
more.
about 140, 130 of it.
I would imagine, yeah.
Somebody should know, because I'd like to know that, like this kind of divine numbers.
Yeah, maybe 140. Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe 142 is the 7. I'm just kidding.
I don't know. It could have been a high 130.
Should we have like a lottery?
Well, I think
guess Baba's weight for a certain age.
But who would know? Who would know?
Probably those people that were close to him.
Go ahead. Didn't come until later.
Oh.
You know what I mean? It's like these people that I mentioned here. They are fathers.
Maybe what's her name? The older living one.
Khorshed.
But she would remember, you think, or not? No?
I don't think she would remember. Well, we can try
her,
it.
and she stays in Carucial quarters?
She's in the trust compound, yeah. I did visit her, yeah. The master allotted separate rooms. Guys, we're having a little trouble here. The master, shall we take maybe a little break?
Yeah, let's take a few.
Okay. Unhappy Heart. They're in Toka. But I think they're not going to stay. They just moved to Toka, but I don't think they're going to stay. The master allotted separate rooms to Abdullah, Ustaji and Gulmai near his seat on June 18th, and a new timetable was drawn up for the Prem Ashram boys. In the afternoon, Baba pulled a heavy roller with the help of Baili and Jal, preparing the ground for the construction of the Mandali's new makam, or residence. During this period, Baba did not approve of the Mandali members when they were too friendly with one another. He wished for a real bond of friendship between them. For a time, this meant that outwardly they should actually behave indifferently toward one another. while inwardly remaining true friends. The reason Baba did not wish them to be so close was that it gave rise to partiality. It would greatly upset Baba if, due to partiality, some mistake of a mandali member was kept hidden from him by one of his friends. That same day, Baba took Vishnu severely to task over this regarding Rustam, warning him, "Now you too are siding with Rustam. Padri and Pendu are his old friends because they have past connection with him from previous births, but why do you want to fall into that pit also?" Baba concluded, true friendship consists in not hiding the faults of one's friends, so that they will be freed from their drawbacks. Partiality here is not helpful. Baba later remarked to the mandali, "Toka is good, but my heart is not happy. At the Taj Mahal Hotel in Bombay, one is surrounded with all comforts and good foods. But if you get a stomachache, you would not be able to enjoy it. In the same way, despite everything being suitable here, my heart is not happy. As a doctor advises a change of place for one's health, my doctor tells me to change my environment because my heart is unhappy." On June 19th, the schoolboys, Ali Akbar and Ramaji, broke one of the established orders, causing Baba to complain, "What is the use of remaining here when the mandali and the boys disregard my wishes? How could I be happy when I have to pamper all, fulfilling their whims and patting everyone just to get him to do his duty?" Since moving to Toka, Ali Akbar and Ramaji had been causing much trouble in the ashram. Baba was very fond of both boys, but because of their disobedience and their inattentive and indifferent attitude, Baba asked the mandali to prepare an estimate of expenses necessary for moving the ashram from Toka.
It just got there.
2 weeks.
He moved the
2
entire
weeks.
Meherabad ashram.
I didn't realize it was that short of a time.
No. He's just mentioning. He's just saying, drop an estimate of expenses for moving.
Oh my God! He
But it
just
seems
moved
like
from
so much
Meherabad.
happened there.
They had-
Meherabad to Toka.
they
Now
moved
he's
lots of-
unhappy with Toka.
But he keeps saying, my heart is not happy. And he's saying all these things. He's saying this nice, but it's not working out. Wow. Since they had been staying there for less than 2 weeks.
Oh my God!
Less than
And
2
you know, it
weeks.
was 500 people that moved.
And they moved, and then Meherabad was
Moving an
just...
entire city, a village.
And then Meherabad was weeping because
Yeah,
they
Meherabad
just...
was desolate.
Everything was desolate.
It's alone.
Everything.
Oh God!
Don't let
Everything.
anybody get too comfortable, okay? I mean, you know.
I mean, the Marley didn't even sleep, and they thought they were dreaming because they couldn't believe.
They couldn't believe.
They
it.
couldn't believe
the
that.
first night at Toka, the mandali were laying down and trying to sleep in open air because they had no bedroom.
It started raining. It started raining, so they had to
put
everything out of the
Some of
rain.
them said, "Pinch me, I'm dreaming this." I know. We didn't move from Meherabad, did we? Did we really do it? Because they couldn't believe it because it was done.
They
It's
had
like
just got Meherabad so built.
I know.
I know, and they tore everything down and moved it
God.
and rebuilt it in Toka. And I mean, they did so much. You know, here they just.
Wait, by the way, it's mentioning the Prem Ashram. So
Yes.
is it there now in Toka?
Ramasha went
And
to
also,
Toka.
also the Meher Ashrams there too?
Yes,
So basically, they transferred the ashram, the Meher ashram for
they
boys.
took everything.
For
Yes,
school, school kids.
Yes.
And then the Prem ashram for the special.
right.
God dang. So
And
I didn't
the
know the Prem
women-
ashram was ever at Toka before.
I didn't know that. I thought it had closed.
I didn't know. I thought it closed.
I forget all these details about Toka.
So
That it
Toka
was
was
just
really a mysterious time.
yeah. I mean, it was just like this brief little.
I mean, if you were
And
a
look at
movie...
all the photos and all the different costumes come from just Toka.
I know.
And
I know. Yeah.
If you were a filmmaker, you
Hey,
could
This
just
is
concentrate on the
how
movie.
Baba was going around in Toka.
Really? What's that
He wasn't wearing any
Oh, it
clothes.
was powerful because it was, well, first of all, if you can capture the aspect of Baba just totally taking the scaffolding out of Meherabad and then going to Toka and then taking it down there and going, elsewhere, if you can capture that somehow, how he really did not at all have any kind of feeling for, hey, I'm setting up shop for permanent, he wasn't, everything was a reason, doing work through people. It was
I see what you're getting at.
You're talking about some
Here's one of the pictures of Baba and Tokka.
I love that one.
Yeah, this is Baba and Tokka.
Yeah,
So there's all these pictures of Baba, and we're only there, not even
How
2
about
weeks.
how about when he was so upset, they took off his kafni and just wore pants,
Just
the
baggy,
daddies.
And, I mean, he had all the mandali, and more mandali than we've ever known or seen, and their families living with him. He had,
Exactly.
and he had
And this-
the prim ashram, and he had the
women
Mehera
mandali,
ashram,
yeah.
and all the teachers and all the employees.
And he was in charge of all of it.
Yeah.
And he told everyone, I will take care of all you.
Right.
And
He did.
And what was amazing was he saved Rustam's life twice now. You know,
Yeah.
Rustam was early Rustam disciple.
Is Adi Senior's brother?
Oh, that is Adi Senior's?
Adi Senior's brother, yes.
Yeah, but the first one was crossing the Ghats,
The car, well, we read this
the car.
incident.
There was 10 people in the car, and
Remember?
his engine shut off, and it
Yeah.
started rolling.
It started rolling
Yeah.
back.
It was headed for the edge of the precipice. The car,
Yeah.
And Rustam was driving. Oh, Baba! And so Baba puts
And he felt with it.
Baba leans
Actually,
over to
guys
one-
actually jumped out of the
Yeah,
car.
Baba leaned over to one side, grabbed the steering wheel, the car
just
stopped in a dime.
Yeah.
And he said if it had went another few feet, it would have been 1,000-foot drop, and everybody would have probably the car killed.
Oh, my God.
But Baba took it to the last second. And
We waited till Rustam
called
called out Baba's name. I
He
mean,
said, Baba,
Yeah.
Baba, please, we're going to die. And then he had him push the car up to Ghats, all 10 of them.
Yeah.
10 bundle, he pushed
right.
it. And then when it got rolling down, it started again. And then the next time was
Those were
They hit
really
a
hard
tree.
days, too.
Rustam swimming in a river, in the middle of the river,
right in Tokka. This
in
is
Toka,
like this, yeah.
and he's caught in a current, and he's going down, he's choking, and Baba comes rapidly walking out of the ashram with a bunch of men, and immediately goes to the river's edge and sees him, points to him, and one of the mandali goes out and saves
Yeah.
him. There's 2 times Baba saved him within a matter of probably, I don't know, short period of time.
Yeah.
So
usually with Chanji as well, you know what I mean? Because in Anubhas's book, when Chanji dies, Baba says, I've saved him too many times. And then Baba names the time. Like, because when Baba first met him, he saved him from committing suicide. You know, and there
That's
were all
right.
these other... Have you read Anubhas's book?
Yeah, oh,
Yeah,
yes.
but it's, wow, you know.
So anyway, I got to find out now when I'm going to leave Toka.
Oh, it's...
The Choka was so beautiful with the rivers.
I know.
and-
Yes,
It was peaceful.
yes,
Yeah.
and pretty. I mean, Baba was
Baba,
even
Baba
saying,
even commented. He said it's like,
Tokka is good,
Yeah.
but my heart is not happy.
yeah. In other words, he said it's like going to
It's
a
like the
place.
Taj Mahal Hotel in Bombay.
Yeah.
One is surrounded with all comforts and good food, but if you get a stomach ache, you would not be able to
Yeah,
enjoy
in
it.
other words, if you were sick, you know, the Taj Mahal was standing there in the 20s, and it still stands today. Of course, it's renovated with
The
new
hotel.
wings and stuff.
Yeah, the hotel.
But you
yeah.
believe that thing was
We're still the, yes.
the gem of Bombay?
Yes.
I believe it.
Yes, yes.
It's so beautiful.
Can you imagine though when it was just opened? It
I
probably
know.
was the showcase of the whole
Oh,
Asia.
yes,
man.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
This was back in the 20s. When they said they used to have these guys with fans, like fanning you when you were eating or dining. you
Yeah,
know.
those giant fans.
Yeah, I met a Baba
Like
lover.
feather, like on
Yeah,
the
the
end.
giant ones.
Giant.
So you've been to this hotel, you two guys?
I
went
was
to
there
the-
in '76.
I don't know if I've been there to the lobby. I didn't stay there.
There's a Baba lover works there.
Oh,
Oh no, Baba lover's girlfriend works there. So I want to see this hotel because it has this reputation. you know?
well, what happened was a lot of Baba lovers were totally zonked out of their stay in India. Either stay there one day before they catch their plane.
Yes.
I didn't stay
That's
there.
before the Leela was built.
Yeah, well, the Leela now is convenient because it's right
Yeah,
there at the
right
airport.
there, yeah.
You don't have to hassle through all that traffic.
Right.
Because you can get stuck for an hour and a half getting to the airport from,
Yeah.
or longer, from downtown.
Yeah.
But the Leela, I always hang out in the lobby.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. It's a
And,
nice-
and yeah,
One time I
did.
fell asleep in a waiting room. The guy
Yes,
you
yes,
can't do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know. I felt a little uncomfortable in the Leela.
They have a health club down in the bottom too.
I didn't know that.
It's only open during the business hours though.
But when we stayed at Nargissus in '76, we went down. She told us to go on when we were sightseeing. She said we'll go down to the Taj Mahal Hotel. So we went down there and we went through the lobby and we went upstairs and we ate in one of the restaurants.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
elegant.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No,
Mark,
we should
what's
keep going, yeah. Both boys, let's see, Baba was thinking of leaving, next chapter. But both boys received special attention from Baba. One day for over 2 hours, Baba explained certain matters to Ramaji, emphasizing to him Obedience to a master's orders is most important, and love is only born when my orders are obeyed. Remember this. Even in the midst of the highest state of intoxication, let your head always be on the master's feet. If you follow this, you will turn into a touchstone. After the outburst of emotion on the part of the ashram boys back in January, Baba would discourse to them on various spiritual subjects, trying to improve their conduct and character by pointing out their smallest mistakes. He was adding fragrance to the flower of their love by being strict and emphasizing complete obedience to his orders. You want to read a little bit, Wendy? Oh,
Sure.
yeah? Bailey was Baba's childhood friend.
Bailey was Baba's childhood friend and would, at times, take advantage of his long-term intimacy with Baba. Due to certain indiscreet actions of Bailey's part, Baba decided to teach him a lesson. He presented Bailey with a new kaftani robe and directed him to begin wearing it from that day on. Later, when the mandali were being treated to tea, he appeared in his conspicuous attire. After tea, when Bailey had gone to his room, Baba sarcastically remarked, "This you can call pampering on my part." Bailey felt special that Baba had signaled him out to wear that distinctive dress as he had done earlier with Abdullah. After some days, however, Bailey found himself in an increasingly distressful situation wearing that kaftani around the ashram. The initial pleasure he felt was nothing compared to the pain he later experienced from the sharp sting of Baba's goading. Baba was taunting him because, while Bailey was in Karachi, he had allowed some knave people to worship him by performing arti before him. Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Bailey always get into trouble, man.
Yes.
He's in trouble. Anyway.
When he was living at Meherabad, he had a false air of pride and self-importance about him, and he was easily offended and short-tempered if anyone questioned his actions. To knock him down to size, Baba played a trick on him by feeding his ego. He paid respect to him by asking him to wear the special kaftani robe, making him appear among the select like Abdullah. Bailey soon realized his mistake, however, and asked Baba's permission to dress in his regular clothes again. But Baba would not hear of it and ordered him to keep wearing the kaftani. After a number of days, Baba finally released him from the order, and Bailey inwardly swore to have nothing further to do with posing as an advanced soul. He remembered well the Master's warnings, never become a Baba. On the 19th of June, a swing was erected near Baba's seat where he would sit and rock himself. Since moving to Toka, I can just see pictures of Mehera with him pushing the swing. Since moving to Toka, the mandali observed almost constant changes in Baba's moods. At one moment he would look pleased and the next furious. One moment he would be solemn and the next his usual genial self. The next day, the mandali moved into their new Makan quarters, which was finally ready for occupancy. The day after, Baba played cricket with the boys for the first time since moving to Toka. Daki was living in Toka with his wife and children in the family quarters, along with the other teachers, some distance away from the mandali's residence. Later that afternoon, Vishnu went to Daki's house for tea. When Baba found out about their meeting, he berated Vishnu and Daki and then ordered the mandali. None should enter the family quarters or the compound of the women mandali. A notice was prepared to this effect and handed out to every person to read. From that day on, Meherji and Ramju were appointed to keep watch near the women's quarters from 2 until 8 at night. Whenever Baba visited the women mandali, the Prim Ashram boys would follow him and try to bring him back to their side.
Oh, they're jealous.
The boys would not leave him alone, even though the women mandali were given very few occasions to be with Baba privately. One day, when Baba was sitting with the women, the boys appeared on the scene. When the women complained that he was not giving them enough of his company, Baba replied, "What am I to do? Where am I to be, here or there? If I remain here, the boys are disappointed, and and when I'm with them, you become displeased. So now decide the issue by a tug of war. I will go wherever I am pulled. Baba stood in the middle, and the woman held one arm, and the boys held his other. Baba indicated, pull with all your might. Let's see who's stronger and who loves me more.
Oh my God.
The contest
Mehera
began.
couldn't have been there though.
No, but he could pull his arm sockets out.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think they will do.
So what happened?
The contest began, and Baba was tugged back and forth. It lasted for several minutes, and the women won. As a reward, from that day on, Baba spent additional time with the women mandali.
Oh my gosh.
It's a great way of hushing the boys up.
Yeah. Baba said, okay, you guys come, whoever wins.
Whoever wins. And the women were determined.
They were
And
determined.
they were adults.
But you see, they weren't allowed enough time with Baba. I mean, you know, if you've been reading, Baba
That's
sees
right,
them
that's
so
right.
little.
That's right, because he had so much work, he didn't.
Yeah, but
You
they
can
just
see, can you
always,
imagine the passion they put into
those
pulling
women, they meant it. They're saying, we don't see
Who was
you.
alive?
Oh, Khorshed. Khorshed.
Oh, I'd love to ask her if she pulled Baba's arm.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be a story
She
to
was
tell?
a young, also
You know,
a child
I was
then. I'll
so-
bet you she
I wonder
did.
if Mehera ever told that story, because, you know, Mehera was...
In Mehera's book, but you see, she was kept in strict seclusion.
So Mehera didn't come out for that?
She
Well, no,
wouldn't
Mehera
have
wasn't
been
allowed
No.
even to see the boys.
No, the boys came over to the women's quarters.
No, but
No,
Mehera was not
Baba would
allowed
have
to
protected
come out,
her
was she?
from.
Ah.
Yeah.
Wow, I can just picture that scene. Actually, you know, that would be a great, what's it, with Woden, this guy that would be sort of, I don't know.
Nice. Yes, the
I don't know
tug of
though, it
war.
would be confusing.
No. Anyway,
Yeah.
I like the idea. Anyway.
The master would go to the women's quarters for his bath and meals.
Ah.
During his bath, he would wear his chadi shorts. Mehera's sister Freni would wash Baba's head, Khorshed his back, and Mehera his feet, after which they would all rinse him with warm water.
Wow.
It was the duty of a maidservant named
What a
Saku. Yeah.
That, by the way, that's Meru's mom.
Freni?
Freni.
Yeah. It was the duty of a maidservant named... No,
Meru's mom?
no.
Yes?
It's Meru's mom's sister.
No. Meru's mom?
Daulat is, or not
Daulat is
Daulat.
Mehera.
is-
Daulat.
Mehera's mother.
Mehera's mom
Mehera
is
and
Daulat.
Freni's
Daulat is Mehera's mother.
Mehera and Freni's mother. Freni is Mehera's sister.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Where
Is that
were
who's
we?
going to be here this weekend?
No.
It
Oh,
was
who's coming?
Freni.
When?
This
I thought for
weekend.
Baba's birthday.
I think they'll be here this weekend.
Now, who's the Baba's birthday guest?
They, yeah.
I think they're here twice.
Oh, so they're coming early.
Yeah.
So they'll be here for them, and then they'll hang
The
over
weekend.
till Wednesday.
Yeah.
Ah.
It was the duty of a maidservant named Saku, then staying with the women, to bring the buckets of water. She too had the opportunity of pouring water over the master. By the way, I'll give you a little hint here, a little extra thing to excite you all. There is one of the auction items, shall I tell you?
Yes.
It's bath water that was poured over Mayor Baba.
No.
Yes.
Where'd you get this?
I'm not giving it. It's someone else is giving it.
Are you sure?
In LA, in the
Yes.
LA group?
Yes.
No. Is it real? I mean,
Yes.
somebody can't be pulling your leg.
No, I think it's from Vesta.
Oh my God. See, you know the thing about Vesta though, she almost overwhelmed me.
Last year, yeah.
She had all this stuff that was from the flower petals from Baba's bed, or
Yeah,
from the
the
doobie,
roses.
or rose petals from the tomb, you know. And she had all these things. It was in seeds or something. Of
Oh, a toothpick Baba used.
Toothpick.
No, I gotta have that.
I have it. It's
Mark's a toothpick guy.
Yeah. Well, how much
No,
did you pay for it?
Oh God, I don't know. There's no price on it. I kind of feel funny having had that at the auction.
You know, that water,
Yeah.
you can use this, a drop of it, to
Yes.
touch your face
Right.
or
I
eyes.
know. And I also have Dooney ash from a
Oh,
Dooney fire
that'll
Baba
probably go
lit.
for a
But that's
couple hundred.
amazing that she is so generous.
Yeah, Vesta's been unbelievable the last couple of years. in giving.
$4.50.
Best. I haven't seen her in a long time.
But she's very generous with the center.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, she
You know,
is.
last year she gave, gosh, so much stuff.
I know, too much almost.
You know, yeah, it was just overwhelming. It was like,
Yeah.
I got some of her flower petals from the dried flower petals from Baba's bedroom, or
I got a rose from that Mara put on Baba's bed
oh
too.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was just,
Yeah.
I mean,
wow.
and I got, of course, pictures touched by Baba through the auction that Adele's catch, you know.
Yeah.
And then I also got water that Baba
touched. You know, it was a gift to me by Bobby Street. He uses it for homeopathy, or for, you know.
Just to bless, yeah.
They distill some of the stuff, homeopathic medicine.
I don't think he allows you to take it internally. He'll say just...
No, what I do is I touch my eyes and...
Yeah. So anyway, it was the duty of the maidservant named Saku, then staying with the women, to bring the buckets of bath water. She too had the opportunity of pouring water over the master. He would discuss spiritual subjects with Saku, and the woman felt that Baba had a great affection for her. But his love for Mehera was unique, as Krishna's was for Radha. Once Baba said to Mehera, "My love for you is excessively more than for anyone else." One day, while explaining certain spiritual matters, Baba related this tale to the women mandali. There once was a yogi who had the power to remove his intestines and wash them. One day he did this and kept them in the sun to dry. A dog saw the organs and ran away with them. Terribly upset, the yogi ran after the dog. You may think I am exaggerating, but it is a common feat among yogis. Such powers do not count along the path. I am not going to give you such powers. Otherwise, you might have to chase after dolphins.
I could just see that. Didn't even do it. I could just see this. No, but I tell you what. No, remember when people were told don't look at Sai Baba at night or don't stare? Somebody looked in Sai Baba's hut, and what did they see? Limbs?
His body.
His body was dismembered.
He was a goose. Oh, he was doing
No. I don't know what it was. No, his arms were laying over here.
Right.
His torso.
Yeah.
And the guy freaked out. He almost had a heart attack because he saw something was beyond his logic.
There's a form of advanced spiritual person called a goose.
Yeah.
A ghost.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. He was a ghost. That's
Yeah.
a ghost quality. Sai Baba had that quality.
Right.
They could dismember themselves.
Dismember.
Yes.
And then, of course, they just, when they need themselves to get all back together. Because
But he was perfect, though. He was perfect at the time, right?
yes, he was. He's perfect. He was perfect.
He was
And I think,
Somebody used to tell us that story in Chicago.
you know what it was? It's almost like when you put your cup and saucer and plates away on the shelf. I guess he looked at his body. It's like this big instruments. You know, put your arms here, because he knew it wasn't really him. He was using this thing.
Read you too much.
No, well, think about it, you know.
I think they do it during spiritual work for some reason too, maybe, you know?
It's true. Okay. Baba wanted the mandali to serve him with humility and do very lowly tasks. There's hope for me after all, see? For example, as there was no sweeper in the ashram, Baba's uncle Masaji was given the duty of cleaning the toilets of the women mandali.
Wow.
Who?
Masaji.
A man?
Yeah. But obviously they weren't around when he was doing it.
Can I tell you, a scene happened with me in the 70s when we were staying, before the Pilgrim Center was built in the early 70s. They had a guest house for 6 people could stay. I think it was 3 women, 3 men at Lower Meherabad. And there was outhouses. And I went to RT, I came back, had breakfast, and I'm doing a dump, you know. And I can't believe this. This woman is cleaning, and I dump, and she like puts the pan and takes my pan out. And, and she didn't think nothing of it. It was like,
I know.
she just put it back under. And I felt embarrassed because, you know, she's cleaning up and I'm dumping right there. But
This goes there.
but apparently it's like, it's part of life. They don't consider it's organic, I guess, you know. It's like an organic operation, you know.
Right.
So here I am dumping and she's cleaning my pan just as I'm doing it.
That was wild.
In India, you know. I'm in an outhouse dumping.